This video is sponsored by EV Wash.
There's only one thing that's beyond ludicrous, which is plaid.
Holy smokes! Holy smokes!
November 16th, 2017. Tesla is holding an event to show off their new Semi prototype. The event went about as expected. The Semi was officially revealed, and we got to hear some specs about their upcoming vehicle. But just as the event is winding down, everything goes black, and we see this.
The plaid!
And out rolls the next generation Roadster, which we're still waiting on, by the way. But outside of the car itself, this is the first time we hear about the Plaid powertrain, a tri-motor setup up from the usual dual-motor setup that most Teslas have. And Tesla made some extraordinary claims about the Roadster and Plaid powertrain pushing it along, specifically in the acceleration department. Tesla claimed 1.9 seconds to accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in a quarter-mile time of under 9 seconds, which would clearly cement it as the quickest production car in the world. So how did this Plaid powertrain find its way to the Model S? Well, it's kind of a long story, but here's the quick summary. Rumors had long been circulating that a refreshed Model S had to be coming. The design had only minor updates since its first release in 2013, but back in July of 2019, Elon tweeted out that there would be no refreshed Model S coming, which quieted a lot of those rumors for a bit, until September of 2019 when Elon tweeted Model S on Nürburgring next week, which would hold true. The official Tesla Twitter account then confirmed that Model S Plaid was testing, posting lap times, and more data from the research and development. Rumors would continue to mount on what this new Plaid would look like, many of which were confirmed on Battery Day a year later when Tesla officially revealed the Plaid Model S. Here we heard similar specs to that initial Roadster reveal, under 9 seconds in the quarter mile, 1100 horsepower, and a 200 miles per hour top speed. However, those specs were for the now canceled Plaid Plus. Which brings us to now. This is the refreshed Model S Plaid, which started deliveries in June, but is now beginning to ramp up outside of those initial deliveries. A local Columbus owner recently took delivery and was nice enough to let me check it out for a couple hours, and here's what I thought of it. First off, the exterior is almost identical to the previous version of the Model S. The main difference is the black trim and slightly wider stance, but if you aren't looking for that, you probably won't even notice this is a Plaid, but the badging does give it away. All deliveries just have the word Plaid on the rear now, not that cool Plaid logo like we saw at the delivery event. This specific car is rocking the solid black paint with the upgraded Arachnid 21-inch wheels. These wheels are a bit less efficient and do drop the range by about 50 miles down to around 350 miles, but I think that's definitely worth the hit there and definitely look a lot better than the standard Tempest wheels. The frunk is decent size, definitely a bit bigger than my Model 3, but a similar shape, and the trunk has some good size as well, and it now opens and closes automatically. But the interior are where the real differences start. This is the all-black interior with the carbon fiber accents, and it honestly feels like a cross between the old Model S and the current Model 3 and Y interior setup. You've got the big horizontal screen in the middle, which is 17 inches now, 2 inches bigger than the one in the Model 3 and Y, and that is definitely noticeable. This comes with an updated UI as well. The menu is very similar to what I'm familiar with, but there are some minor tweaks that make it a bit more flexible and easier to read. For example, there's a little dock here at the bottom where you can put your most used apps and make them easier to find. The whole HVAC setup was adapted from the Model 3 as well. You control everything from the touchscreen instead of physically moving vents like on the old Model S. And it also adds vented seats, which were really nice on the hot day we decided to film. The doors now have buttons on them like in the Model 3, but they are capacitive buttons, which is a bit odd and will continue to confuse passengers for years to come. The back seats are pretty roomy. I felt somewhat comfortable being 6'4", but I will say the Model Y still had a bit more room back here just because you sit up a bit higher. And these rear seats now have a touchscreen in the middle, which is handy for adjusting climate or music, and also has some video options, but this might be at an odd angle for watching YouTube or playing games long term. And that brings us to the elephant in the car here, the yoke. Probably the most controversial part of the interior refresh, and there's a reason why. Half of the steering wheel is now missing, and there are now no stalks for wiper control or turn signals. Instead, now all of the controls are here on the wheel. The left side is where the turn signal and brights are, and on the right are the horn, wipers, and voice control buttons. So a few things to note here just from the little time I spent with the car. I'll give the bad news first and good news second. Bad news, the Yoke has a normal turning ratio, which means you have to spin the wheel all the way around to fully lock it in one direction. This is different from the Yoke steering wheels you might be familiar with in racing like Formula One. Those typically have a variable turn ratio that they will adjust based on the track, but the Model S here does not have that, and because of that, there's definitely a learning curve. I missed grabbing the wheel a few times just because that part of the wheel was missing, and I also bumped some of these capacitive buttons while I was turning. And because of this, I didn't even realize till something popped up on the screen that I had bumped the voice control button. They don't have any kind of haptic feedback, so you don't know when the button's been pressed. I think the worst decision on these steering wheel controls was the horn, personally. I think that needs to be available at any time to be pressed, especially in an emergency. So for example, if you've got the wheel turned fully in one direction, the steering wheel isn't centered up, and you've got to click the horn, you've got to now hunt around on the steering wheel to find where that horn button is at. You can't just press the center of the steering wheel. And I find this really odd because Tesla didn't add any additional functionality to the center of the wheel here. I think they just moved it because they wanted everything to be the same form of control, but I don't know why they couldn't just leave that as the horn. As for the good news, I will say again, I only had about 15 minutes driving around with the Yoke, so take my comments with a grain of salt. I think after some more time with it, I would definitely get used to it. I would just take a little bit more time than getting in a new car with a regular round wheel. It did already start to feel a little bit more comfortable after driving for a few minutes, and I could definitely see it being more comfortable on the highway, on autopilot, when you're not having to do a lot of steering. And visibility is definitely better since the Model S has that dashboard screen up front. It isn't covered anymore, and your overall field of view is just much cleaner. And you can keep your car as clean as that view with today's video sponsor, EV Wash. EV Wash has created a line of sustainable detailing products, including an interior cleaner, waterless wash, and glass cleaner. The products are 100% biodegradable, come in an aluminum bottle that can be refilled, and it's a lot more durable than those plastic bottles you're used to. Refills also come in a paper bag to reduce plastic waste even more. With every bottle sold, EV Wash is planting one tree to help the planet, and I definitely recommend checking them out if you are looking to reduce your waste and keep your car clean. You can use code ALEX30 at checkout for 30% off the entire site. Links to their website are in the description. And now the moment you probably have all been waiting for. Let's launch this thing.
Ready?
Yep. Oh my God!
Oh. Oh my God.
Oh, jeez. That one launched way harder too. Jeez. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. That's insane. Good God.
God.
Wow.
Yeah, this thing is fast. We got to do a few launches in this car, and we all got a chance to drive as well, and I can confidently say this is the quickest car I have ever driven or even been in. The scariest part wasn't even the launch itself, it was the fact that this car keeps accelerating. There wasn't a noticeable drop-off once you get up into those higher speeds like on some other EVs I've driven. This thing just keeps moving faster until you let off the pedal. We kept it in drag strip mode the whole time, which keeps the battery at an optimal temperature for launching. We floored it a couple times from standstill, which is crazy fast, but to go into full launch mode, you press on both pedals, and then it goes into cheetah mode, which uses the air suspension to lower the front end for better aerodynamics. And once it's ready, you let off the brake and go plaid. The actual change in terms of acceleration in plaid mode or launch mode is minimal, but every 1/10 of a second counts when you're moving this fast. You can also adjust this air suspension into standard, comfort, and sport mode depending on what kind of ride you want. But overall, this car is just insane. Sure, there are some things that could have been executed a bit better, but I think that's true with any car. And I think Tesla took a lot of the things that worked on the Model 3 and Y and adapted them for the Model S. The Plaid is definitely the car you want if you want the best performance in the world, but keep in mind the long-range Model S has all of these improvements as well. It even has launch mode, just with a slower acceleration. And in terms of just plain specs, as it's quoted right now from Tesla, it gets 1020 horsepower, putting it on the list with McLaren and Ferrari and other performance brands in terms of power output. 1.99 seconds from 0 to 60 miles per hour, beating out the Porsche 918 Spyder by a full 1/10 of a second for the fastest accelerating production car in the world, and a 200 miles per hour top speed, which you probably shouldn't even need unless you're tracking this thing. So the Plaid is here, and Plaid Plus is rumored to be coming to the new Tesla Roadster. But that just leaves one question: what is beyond Plaid?